today I'm going to share a story from my youth with you. And as you listen to it, I hope you'll think about whether or not you might have learned the same lesson that I did as a boy. Growing up in Madison, Wisconsin, I spent a lot of Saturdays in the fall watching football games for the University of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Badgers played at Camp Randall Stadium. And it was called Camp Randall because it literally was a Civil War camp. After the Civil War, it became a venue for non-mortal combat with a pigskin. On Saturdays, as kids, we'd go watch the games. And they were a lot of fun, and it didn't cost much. A ticket was maybe $1.50, $2, so we could afford that. Granted, the tickets were for the end zone seating, which wasn't the best place to be. You didn't have a really good view of the field unless people were all the way down near your end zone, but it was still a lot of fun. The bleachers were old wooden bleachers that were all splintered. Once in a while you'd sit up and realize you had a splinter in your butt. That wasn't very much fun. As you would walk around, you'd always be walking on half-chewed gum or somebody's spilled soda pop until every step would stick to the ground. That was a little bit annoying, but we still had a lot of fun. And then one year, I worked as a vendor, selling popcorn, coffee, Coca-Cola, ice cream, whatever, to the people in the stands. And I can't remember to this day if that was really my idea or if it was my dad's initiative. You see, my dad was always trying to get my brothers and I to understand the value of a dollar, a good work ethic, and to save money for a rainy day. But regardless, that one year I worked as a vendor. So, as a vendor, I got to wear one of those dorky paper caps that looked like an upside-down canoe, very pointed at both bow and stern. I had a big, thick nylon strap around my neck that came down to a steel cage contraption that rested on my stomach, and it would hold many, many bags of popcorn or many cups of Coca-Cola. Underneath that, I had an apron, and the apron held change for me to give to the customers. So if they gave me a $20 bill, I could break the change for them. You never had a say in what you were going to sell on any given Saturday. If it was a hot day, you would do great if you were selling cold Coca-Cola or ice cream. If it was a cold day, you wanted to be selling hot chocolate coffee. Well, this particular day, it was very, very hot. It was early September, and I was selling hot salted popcorn. Not the best product to be selling at that time. I walked up and down those steps at Camp Randall Stadium for 4 hours. It was really hot. The sun was beating me up all day long. Sometimes looking up as I climbed the stairs, I could see the sun over the top of the stadium. And I thought, I'm marching all the way to the sun. And I feel like I'm melting in the process. The sweat was just pouring off of my brows. And it was exhausting. Worst yet, I wasn't making much money. Because who wants hot popcorn on a hot day? Then finally somebody said, popcorn. So I went over, gave them a bag of popcorn. They gave me a $20 bill. I made the change for my apron, and I moved back to marching up and down like a soldier on those stairs. A long time later, finally somebody went, popcorn boy. I went over to him, and he was actually well down the road, and there was no room to walk down the road. So what I had to do is we basically gave the 2 bags of popcorn to the person sitting in the aisle seat. And the person in the aisle seat then passed the popcorn along, and it became like a human conveyor belt. But the popcorn got to my customer, he sent money back down that conveyor belt, got to me, I made change and passed it back to him. I started to walk away. He said, hey, wait! He said, I gave you a 20, you still owe me 10 bucks. Well, I didn't want to cheat anybody, so I went back, handed over 10 bucks, and they passed it on down the line to him. The game ended. I don't remember if we won or lost, but back then, Wisconsin pretty much lost almost all their games. So I assumed we did. But it was a sellout, and that's how good the fans of the Wisconsin Badgers are. So I had to wait for the stands to empty before I could go see the boss. And after everybody left, I marched down underneath the bleachers, and I found the boss. I handed over all my leftover popcorn, and then he started to count the money in my apron. And he counted it once, and he started counting it again, and I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And he said, you've only got 30 bucks here. And I said, well, yeah, it was a hot day. People didn't want popcorn. I said, how much did I make? He said, make? Are you kidding me? He said, 30 bucks is what I gave you as a loan to make change for your customers. He said, you didn't make a thing. If you want to make money next time, you better pay better attention, because somebody cheated you out of your money. Well, I was just a kid. And I thought, hey, that's not fair. I've worked for 4 hours, I've worked really hard, and I don't make a thing. I wasn't going to go home that day with any extra change jangling in my pockets. All that work was for naught. But then I thought, I did learn a lesson today. I'd rather have the cash, but I learned a lesson. And the lesson was that you can't trust everybody, especially if you don't know them. And that was a hard lesson to learn, because my parents and our neighbors were so honest and so helpful for all of us kids that I kind of assumed that any adult would not take advantage of some little kid. You know, what a lowlife. Who does that? But I learned the lesson that I couldn't trust everybody. And as tough as it was to learn that lesson, I'm glad I learned it when I did, because later in life it could have been even at an even greater expense. And so I have enjoyed being able to share that experience with you. And as you think back, maybe some of you have learned that lesson too. And if so, I'm sorry, but on the other hand, it is an important thing to know. And thank you for listening to my story. Thanks very much.